anything to the masses.
Load up, load up, load up. We rubber bullets.
Snowflake falling from the sky.
What about gay people? Trump has vowed to protect the LGBT community from a fanatical ideology that represents its biggest threat: radical Islam.
As your president, I will do everything in my power to protect our LGBTQ citizens from the violence and oppression of a hateful foreign ideology.
Load up, load up, load up. We rubber bullets.
Snowflake, snowflake, little snowflake, falling, 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 falling.
He is a racist.
Under Obama, more black people are living below the poverty line. The number of African Americans on food stamps has increased 58% under Obama.
On every leading economic issue, on the major economic issues, black Americans have lost ground in every one of those leading categories. So for the last 10 years, it's not been good for black folks.
Is this how the left helps black communities? By making them poorer and more dependent on government. Race relations are at their worst in decades. 8 years of Obama has been devastating for the black community.
He is a sexist. He is a neo-Nazi.
Well, we don't understand why you called in the National Guard.
Falling on my nose.
Not my president. He is a lying ass.
Snowflake, snowflake, little snowflake,
Fake ass.
little snowflake, falling from the sky.
Dumb ass son of a bitch.
Load up, load up, load up. We rubber bullets.
Snowflake, snowflake, little snowflake, falling, 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 falling.
That's not my president. That's not my president.
Load up, load up, load up. We rubber bullets.
Falling in my hand,
Thank you for taking America back 60 years of progress.
falling on my head,
You just voted in a Nazi fascist.
falling on my nose, falling in my hand. Snowflake, snowflake, little snowflake.
What you gonna do about it? What you gonna do?
The following is a Nightside Radio Studios production.
From the wind-powered Nightside Radio Studios,
Tear down this wall.
this is the J.J. McCartney Show.
It's this man. It's the compassion. It's the dignity. It's the wisdom. It's the horse sense of the guy.
Did you know that 65% of the people murdered in the last 10 years were killed by handguns?
Would it make you feel any better, little girl, if they was pushed out of windows?
The American people have seen the truth, and they can see through your lies. There's coming a day when publications such as yours turn into nothing more than flea market advertising. They'll be handing it out for free in grocery store parking lots under everybody's windshield wiper. Yeah, that's the future for the Washington Post and the New York Times and every other liberal publication in this country. We are not going to tolerate your bull anymore. None of it. The American people are fed up. I thought we made that clear on November 8th, but apparently you people in the media just don't get it. A new chapter in American history begins now.
It is my high honor and distinct privilege to introduce to you the President-elect of the United States of America.
Donald Trump is the person to make America great again.
We are a team.
They said it couldn't be done.
Together, we will lead our party back to the White House.
He said it must be done.
Beginning on January 20th, we cannot afford to be so politically correct anymore. The most important difference between our plan and that of our opponent is that our plan will put America first.
Here's J.J. McCartney.
All right, thank you, Marcus, and welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Monday Show on this 12th day of February, 2018. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we've got news to share with you. I've got a question to ask. I have a question to ask of you today, and you're going to have to answer it. All right? I'm not going to give you the answer. I'm going to ask you to give me the answer to the question on this Monday. All right? And in order for you to answer the question, I suppose a couple of things need to happen. First of all, you need to know the telephone number to give us a call and share with us the answer. All right? The telephone number is 855-853-5227. All right, that's toll-free in the United States. 855-853-5227. All right. That's the telephone number. Nobody can say that I didn't tell you what the number was, because now you have it. All right? Okay. Now about the question. We'll get to that in a minute. We will get to that, I promise you, in just a minute. But first, I want to talk to you guys for a moment. You know, we've been doing this radio program for, well, it'll be 5 years in August. 5 years we've been doing this show. And, you know, it's been fun at times. It's been a lot of hard work. And, you know, I honestly, folks, all humility aside, can I tell you what makes this show go? Can I tell you what makes any good from the heart radio show possible? What makes this program possible? I mean, for want of a better term, in this particular instance, what makes this program go is me. Now, the reason I say that is because all talk radio, regardless of the subject matter, regardless of the audience, all talk radio is personal, okay? It's personal. Now, what that means is that every day that you hear somebody come on the radio and do any radio show that's a talk radio show that especially is rooted in the truth, rooted in our American patriotic roots, and in defense of our founding, in defense of our Constitution, in defense of our Judeo-Christian ethics. I mean, these shows, they take people, and what they do every day that I do this show, every day that John B. Wells does his show, every day that the gang at Red State Talk Radio do their shows, every time that they come, sit at the microphone, and spend, 1 or 2 or 3 or 10 or however many hours a week they do this, what they're doing is they are whittling off a little piece of themselves. Okay? See, just like everybody else, I am a finite resource, if you want to look at it that way. And I am a passionate person. I am a passionate patriot. I'm a passionate Christian. I am a passionate man. I care so much about where this country goes. I care about what our young people think and believe and know. It matters more than I can tell you. It matters. It matters so much. And I just can't fathom good, patriotic American Christians showing indifference towards our future, indifference towards where our young people are going to go and what they're going to do and how they're going to live. The question I am asking today, and I'm asking this as sincerely as I possibly can, where do you see this country in another 10 years if America's patriots sit on their hands for most of that time? Where do you see America and the world in 10 years if we don't do everything we can to change the course of this nation and this world? And people say, well, JJ, that's a lofty goal. Well, actually, it's not a lofty goal. It is one person's passion. It is one person that's experienced the grace of God, trying to share that grace with a world that desperately needs it. Where do you want to see this world in 10 years? Where do you want to see this nation in 10 years? Where do you want to see our young people? What do you want them to be listening to in 10 years? And what kind of world are they going to see through those young eyes of theirs? This is not a pessimistic worldview. We're not about pessimism here. We're about hope. And we are about righteousness. And we are about fighting evil in our time. And I come here Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time, and I ask these questions for one reason. Because we're all finite resources. We are all here for just a little bit of time. Where do you want to see America in 10 years? Where do you want to see America in 20 years? Assuming that we all live that long, what do you think the world's going to look like by then if we don't do what we're called to do? What is this country going to amount to if there is not a solid, firm, moral foundation beneath our feet? Where will we be as a nation if we allow the rot, the cancer to continue to spread? If we allow this tiny percentage of people to wag the dog. And ladies and gentlemen, you want to know specifically what I'm talking about? I am talking about allowing a tiny percentage of the country who just happens to have good lawyers and knows exactly which activist judges to pick on. These people have sought to destroy the American family. They have sought to destroy the souls of young men and women. They have sought to poison the well from which life springs forth. They have sought to destroy the American family. And you know what? Every statistic measurable suggests that they're doing a much better job of it than anybody would have ever expected 50 years ago. And ladies and gentlemen, 50 years goes by like that. 50 years goes by so fast it'll make your head spin. You look at the morality in America today. The question is, what morality in America today? In the pop culture, it's nearly non-existent. But there has become, there's this new thing that they're doing. It's called pseudo-righteousness. It is the idea that people who walk around telling young people that they can do anything they want to get their jollies. They walk around acting as though this is a birthright. They walk around equating sexual deviance to the color of your skin. They're claiming that the rights of the sexually deviant is just as crucial a cause as the right of women to vote, the right of blacks to vote, the right of blacks to use the same lunch counter as whites. These people are denigrating Black America today by equating their attempt to corrupt the family unit, their attempt to promote devious and dangerous sexual behaviors, claiming that they were born that way. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't see this as one of the major threats in America today to our very survival, then you're not studying human history very well. Making the same mistakes that Rome made. I mean, if you look back on every great society in human history, when they decided to jettison God from their culture, it wasn't long till they met their ruin. And when you look at Sodom and Gomorrah, I know there's people out there saying, "Oh boy, then here comes preachy JJ." Folks, this is fact, human history. Sodom and Gomorrah wiped from the face of the earth. Why? And people say, "Well, it's because God hates homosexuals." No, that's not it. You had a complete little society going on, but they didn't want to hear from God. They didn't want God anywhere around. Although they did try to sexually molest his angels when they came to Lot's house. This is how rancid they were. When you look at humanity without God, it gets rancid in a hurry. It truly does. And when you look at America today and you see the sexual misbehavior that's going on, now consider the exposure of people like Harvey Weinstein, which, by the way, I'm glad the man was exposed. I'm glad that he is getting his comeuppance. Same for many, many others. But the thing is, how did it get this bad this fast? Now, the answer to that question, I think, is fairly simple. In the 1960s, we kicked God out of the classroom. In the 1970s, early 70s, the sexual revolution happened. In the 1970s, we decided we were going to kill babies in the womb and pretend it wasn't a big deal. And then after that, what happened? The homosexual movement started and became aggressive in places like San Francisco and elsewhere, South Beach and Miami. Homosexuality is perhaps the single most godless behavior there is. You have to completely shake your fist at your Creator to choose that lifestyle. And you look at all of the sexual deviance that's going on, and it doesn't have to be gays. There's just as much perversion in the heterosexual world as there is in the homosexual world. But the thing is, it all started falling apart when the nation turned its back on God. When the nation decided, well, I guess maybe this isn't a fight that we're ready to fight right now. And so, for the last 50 years, the cancer has spread, the wound has festered. And it's left us now, scratching our heads, wondering why women are walking around wearing vagina hats, using the most vulgar language possible, attacking our president, attacking more than our president. They are attacking our belief system. They are attacking the belief system of the men and women that courageously founded this nation. You wonder why things are the way they are? Do you really wonder? Okay, there's lots of news going on today, and I'm going to ask you the ultimate question here in just a minute, because there is so much going on. All right. I'm going to ask you a question. This is from the headlines of today's major news websites. I want you to tell me what's missing from today's headlines. This is the big question I want you to answer today. What is missing from today's headlines? What is missing from today's headlines? Now, I'm going to leave it to you to make that determination. What is missing from Monday, February 12th, 2018's headlines of the day? What is it we're not seeing in the headlines today? And why? 855-853-5227. That's our toll-free number. We'll take a break. We'll come back in just a minute, and we're going to delve into this. What is missing from today's headlines? 855-853-5227. Back with more in just a minute.
The J.J. McCartney Show.
Hey, everybody. J.J. McCartney back here for our good friends at MountainViewOffGridLiving.com. You know, folks, there's one thing that there never seems to be a shortage of in this world, and that is uncertainty, unrest. You know, you never know what's going to happen tomorrow. Natural disasters, economic downturns, whatever it is, you can be prepared by going to MountainViewOffGridLiving.com. They have got everything you need, from ProPure gravity-fed water filtration systems to Kimberly stoves to these composting toilets. Ladies and gentlemen, at MountainViewOffGridLiving.com, you can prepare for anything. Food storage? No problem. Advice? No problem. Call our good friend Sue at MountainViewOffGridLiving.com. Find out what's there for you. Great prices, great advice, and guess what, folks? You'll find it all at MountainViewOffGridLiving.com.
What was my wow? I've been so fortunate. I was at the Brandenburg Gate the night the wall came down.
My name is Tommy Flanagan, and I'm a member of Pathological Liars Anonymous. In fact, I'm the president of that organization. Yeah, that's who I am.
There are now reports that he actually arrived the day after the wall came down, not the night of.
I didn't always lie. No, I used to tell the truth. But then one day I told a lie and I got away with it. Yeah.
Williams' predecessor, Tom Brokaw, was the only American anchorman to report live from the scene on that historic day.
I said I was traveling in an aircraft that was hit by RPG fire.
And then, if you can believe, a miniature tidal wave came along.
This controversy will be what Brian Williams will be remembered for.
So if you're out there listening, and you want to stop your habit of lying, just give us a call. Because we have meetings now every week at my house in Jamaica.
You're listening to the J.J. McCartney Show with me, J.J. McCartney, on jjmccartney.com.
What is freedom of speech?
It's my mouth,
my tongue,
and my 32 teeth,
my thigh,
my mind,
my rights to preach,
to rap, to sing, and even to teach.
No matter the genre, it's still
my freedom of speech. Congress will not choose my religion.
Abridging of press, assembly, and petition.
The laws do protect us.
This is true.
To agree to disagree is sometimes better to do.
Use your mouth,
your tongue,
your 32 teeth,
your thoughts,
your mind,
your right to preach. No matter the genre, it's
our freedom of speech. This message is brought to you by the NAB Education Foundation, the Broadcast Education Association, Robert R. McCormick Foundation, and this station.
All right, we are back on the Monday edition, the Monday rundown on the J.J. McCartney Show. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I'm no singer. Except when karaoke is going on, I kind of get into it. But it's been a long time. It's been, I'm guessing close to 15 years since last I karaoke'd. It's amazing how the time flies. Back then I was considered the best Neil Diamond karaoke dude in western Nebraska, at least by some. Okay? I can't make any claims because we never actually went out and took a survey of the people of the greater Nebraska area. But, at least in my own mind, I was Neil Diamond when I took the stage. All right, folks, here it is. Bear with me. Today, ladies and gentlemen, there's something missing from the news headlines. There is something absent from the news headlines, and I would like you to tell me exactly what that is. The toll-free phone lines are open at 855-853-5227. Now, this is an easy thing to do because all I have to do is go to the, ladies and gentlemen, we got major news breaking here. The story, Dateline today, 2:52 p.m. Eastern Time, about 45 minutes ago, the story breaking at NBCnews.com. Vanessa Trump taken to hospital as precaution after white powder sent to her home. President Donald Trump's daughter-in-law was taken to a Manhattan hospital as a precaution after a suspicious letter containing an unidentified white powder was sent to her apartment. This, according to senior law enforcement and city officials. The letter was addressed to Vanessa Trump's husband, Donald Trump Jr., the eldest child of the president, and his ex-wife, Ivana. After the letter was opened, 3 people at the residence were taken to the New York Presbyterian Weill Cornell Medical Center, strictly as a precaution, according to the fire department. No indication that anyone has suffered any injuries. The NYPD said the substance was deemed to be non-hazardous, was taken to a lab for further analysis. How disturbed must a person be to do that, to do what they've done to a mother of 5 children? Michael Cohen, President Trump's personal attorney, said in a statement, this dangerous and reckless act goes beyond political differences. The Secret Service said it was investigating and would have no further comment at this time. So, obviously, most of these incidents turn out to be pranks, but they're not funny. Not in any way, shape, or form. That is the tops at this hour on Drudge. Okay. Next, I want to share with you the situation in the Middle East. I'm sure that those of you that follow news closely know exactly what happened over the weekend, but we'll spell it out just in case there's anything else that we can glean from news reports. From the Jerusalem Post, Israel has boosted its air defenses. Israel has boosted its air defenses after, what can only be described as inexcusable aggression from Iran. Israel boosting its air defenses in the north following a significant confrontation between the Jewish state, Syria, and Iran that led to the loss of an F-16 fighter jet. While the Army refused to comment on the reports, witnesses report seeing a convoy of missile defense batteries heading north near the Israeli Arab city of Baqa al-Gharbia. Other eyewitnesses posted photos of several trucks carrying the batteries on central highways in northern Israel. Israel's air defenses currently include the Iron Dome, designed to shoot down short-range rockets, the Arrow system, which intercepts ballistic missiles outside the Earth's atmosphere, and the David's Sling missile defense systems, which are designed to intercept tactical ballistic missiles, medium to long-range rockets, and cruise missiles fired from ranges of between 40 kilometers and 300 kilometers. Israel also has Patriot missile batteries stationed at the north and has used them to intercept drones infiltrating into Israeli airspace from Syria. In September, an Iranian-built unmanned aerial vehicle breached the Bravo line that marks the Syrian demilitarized zone, and was intercepted by an Israeli Patriot anti-ballistic missile launched from a station near the northern city of Safed. Now, the first use of the Arrow system was in April of last year, when it was launched to intercept 3 surface-to-air missiles fired towards Israeli Air Force jets by Syrian regime air defense. Well, on Saturday, an Iranian drone, which took off from the Syrian T4 airbase in northern Homs province, flew through Jordanian territory before it infiltrated into Israel. It flew for about a minute and a half in the northern Jordan Valley before it was shot down by a helicopter flown by Lieutenant Colonel I, we'll call him I, to protect his identity. He's the commander of the 113th Squadron. The squadron was sent to protect the country's skies. Said I, we identified the aircraft as an Iranian drone, and when it crossed the border, we shot it down into Israel territory. The squadron is ready and prepared for any task it is given. The Israeli Air Force Chief of Staff, Brigadier General Tomer Bar, who is second in command of Israel's Air Force, said the drone was an advanced model with a low signature that Israel had never intercepted before. It is currently being examined by the Israeli Defense Force. But one thing we can tell you about that drone is that it was, it apparently was based on American stealth technology. In other words, they copycatted some of our stealth technology on this drone. In retaliation for the incursion, 8 jets took off to strike the drone's launch site. During the operation, Syrian regime forces fired around 20 anti-aircraft missiles at the jets. The pilot and navigator of one of the planes ejected themselves when they recognized that one of the missiles had locked onto their jet. According to the Israeli Defense Forces, Iran and the Quds Force of the Revolutionary Guards have been operating at the T4 base for a long time, backed by Syrian army forces and with the approval of the Syrian regime of Bashar al-Assad. Iran has begun using the base in recent months for the purpose of transferring weaponry to be used against Israel. These actions by Iran at the base are ostensibly carried out under the guise of supporting the fighting against the global Islamic Jihad forces. But the actions carried out in the past 24 hours prove that its real concern is direct, violent action against Israel. In the Iranian action, all the Israeli warnings against Iranian consolidation in Syria were realized. The attack was initiated and Israel was forced to respond first to the threat in its territory and then to the hostile elements operating from the Syrian territory opposite it. That from the Israeli Defense Forces. A senior official in Israel's defense on Sunday warned that Iran is determined to entrench itself in Syria and will continue trying to attack Israel. As far as we're concerned, the event is over, but the Iranians are determined to continue to establish themselves in Syria. The next incident is only a matter of time. Only a matter of time. You know, folks, this has been only a matter of time for a long time. What's happening in the Middle East right now should come as no surprise to anybody that pays attention to biblical prophecies about what's going to be happening in the Middle East from now until, well, if you're a Christian, the return of Christ. Now, folks, appreciate what we're seeing here. First of all, you've got Russia allied with Bashar al-Assad in Syria. You've got Iran. For a long time, Iran has had a joint defense agreement with Syria. Long time. And what we've seen happen inexplicably since Barack Obama took over as president in 2009, we have seen an absolute travesty take place. All of the gains, all of the victories that we had won in Iraq were unmistakably given up when Barack Obama decided to pull our forces out of Iraq with no logic to it. No military thinking went into this. It was just simply, we're going to pull out of Iraq by July 11th or July of 2011. Yep, that's what happened. And what ensued, of course, was the return of insurgents in Iraq, the growing of ISIS, the growing of these violent, anti-Christian, anti-Jewish, radicalized Islamic terrorists. And they were able to grow their forces. They were able to just march right in. Once the American forces were gone, there was no more resistance. And they grew. They grew into Syria. They grew throughout Syria. And Barack Obama did absolutely nothing. Nothing of any import in stopping them. As a matter of fact, Barack Obama was so obsessed with trying to unseat Bashar al-Assad that instead of stopping the terrorists in Syria, he was arming the terrorists in Syria, funding the terrorists in Syria, along with Hillary Clinton. And the whole Arab Spring nonsense took place. And then they take out Muammar Gaddafi, thrusting Libya into a civil war that rages on even now. undermining peace in the Middle East seems to have been job one for Barack and Hillary. And so, all of the gains we had made in the Iraq War, inexplicably given back, not to the people of Iraq, but to the radical terrorists that funneled their way into Iraq from Iran. And you wonder why Donald Trump is being so hard-nosed, and why he is being so supportive of Israel. He doesn't want to be on the wrong side of biblical prophecy, ladies and gentlemen, and I don't either. That's what this comes down to. All right, folks, 855-853-5227. That's our toll-free number today. And if you think you know what is missing from today's headlines, we would love to hear from you. The toll-free number again, 855-853-5227. We'll have more on what's going on in the Middle East and around the world. We'll also give you an Olympic update and more coming up on the J.J. McCartney Show for this Monday, the 12th day of February. We'll be right back.
If you agree with JJ's conservative pillars for rescuing America's economy, stay tuned for more. If you are a liberal and think everything is okay, you can go pet your unicorn now.
When you look at the way the House of Representatives has been run, it has been run like a plantation, and you know what I'm talking about.
I am sick and tired of people who say that if you debate and you disagree with this administration, somehow you're not patriotic, and we should stand up and say, we are Americans and we have a right to debate and disagree with any administration.
I remember landing under sniper fire. We just ran with our heads down to get into the vehicles.
Problem is, that's not what happened. And we should know, CBS News accompanied the First Lady and daughter Chelsea on that Bosnia trip. A reminder that in politics, memory should always match the videotape.
I don't feel no ways tired. I come too far from where I started from.
There isn't any evidence that anybody gave me any favorable treatment.
Look at all the skullduggery in the Clinton administration. All roads lead back to Hillary, back to Hillary, back to Hillary.
It can begin with an email, a phone call, a flyer in the mail, or perhaps a misleading website. Loan modification scams. They come in all shapes and sizes and under different names. Loan rescue firms, counseling services, mortgage consultants, sometimes posing as a legitimate mortgage company willing to help you modify your loan and get caught up with your payments. But beware, these are highly trained con artists looking to steal your home. They often know who you are, where you live, and because it's public record, know if you are on the brink of foreclosure. You're not alone, however. The National Crime Prevention Council and U.S. Department of Justice have partnered to help homeowners identify and steer clear of these scam artists.
McGruff the Crime Dog here. Protect your home and safeguard your finances. It only takes a little time to become informed. Start by finding a free legitimate housing counselor today.
Take the first step. Visit www.ncpc.org/mortgage-fraud. That's ncpc.org/mortgage-fraud. This message is from the National Crime Prevention Council and U.S. Department of Justice.
The J.J. McCartney Show. He didn't invent conservatism. He just perfected it. More to come after the break.
This is the story of Daniel, who was born 2 months early. His lungs weren't ready. His heart wasn't ready. His parents could only hope that one day he would leave the hospital healthy, and they would all live happily ever after. Daniel's is just one of the more than 500,000 stories of babies born prematurely last year. You can help the March of Dimes stop premature birth and bring more babies home healthy. Learn how at marchofdimes.com. Working together for stronger, healthier babies.
All right, we are back on the Monday edition. The Monday Rundown is what we call it on Mondays. We cover the news and things that happened over the weekend, things you might have missed, things that, I definitely missed because we don't have cable TV, so we don't get anything except, we do on occasion get the CBS channel when their transmitter is not down like it's been for the last 3 days. So if it happens on broadcast TV, we generally don't see it. So here's what's going on half a world away over in Korea at the Winter Games. The headline, which reads, "Wind, ice and cold are making this Olympics too wintry. Crimea River. The Winter Olympics, being located in Pyeongchang, South Korea, are supposed to be cold, of course, but maybe not as cold as some people would think. The Associated Press says that wind and ice pellets left Olympic snowboarders simply trying to stay upright in conditions that many felt were unfit for competition. The best ski jumpers on the planet dealing with swirling gusts and biathletes aiming to shoot straight. Well, all around the games, athletes and fans are dealing with conditions that have tested even the most seasoned winter sports veterans. Low temperatures have hovered in the single digits, dipping below 0 Fahrenheit, with the unforgiving gusts of wind whipping at 45 miles an hour, making it feel much colder. Organizers have shuffled schedules and shivering spectators left events early. The raw air sent hundreds of fans to the exits Sunday when qualifying was called off after women's slopestyle devolved into a mess of mistakes, and Monday's final started 75 minutes late. Of the 50 runs, 41 ended with a fall or a rider essentially giving up. The temperature dropped to 3 degrees Fahrenheit with high winds. American Jamie Anderson won the gold medal by watching most of her competitors struggle and then completing a conservative run that paled in comparison to her winning performance at the X Games just 2 weeks ago. It has to be absolutely petrifying, terrifying being up that high in the air and having a gust 30 miles an hour coming sideways at you, said United States Ski and Snowboard Association Tiger Shaw. He's the CEO of that association. Many of the snowboarders didn't think they should have to be out there at all. You're going up the chairlift, and you see these little tornadoes, says Czech snowboarder Sarka Pankahova, who finished 16th. At ski jumping, giant netting was set up to reduce the wind that can blow at 3 times the optimal velocity for the sport. Well, it didn't help all that much, though. The men's normal hill, the final on Saturday, was pushed back repeatedly and eventually finished after midnight. Japan's Noriad Kasai says it was unbelievably cold. Competing at his record 8th Olympics, says the noise of the wind at the top of the jump was incredible. I've never experienced anything like that on the World Cup circuit. I said to myself, surely they are going to cancel this. Alpine skiing, meanwhile, still hasn't been able to get started at all, leaving stars like Michaela Schifrin of the U.S. and Askell Lund Svindal of Norway waiting for their turn in the spotlight. Each of the first 2 races on the program, the men's downhill Sunday and the women's giant slalom Monday, were called off hours before they were supposed to begin. Both of those have been moved to Thursday, when things are supposed to become slightly more manageable. The forecast calls for more high winds Tuesday and Wednesday, although temperatures are expected to climb into the 20s. I am pretty sure that soon men's race director Marcus Waldner said, with a wry smile, we will have a race. Until then, he and other officials are left trying to come up with contingency plans and ways to get the full 11-race Alpine program completed before the Olympics are scheduled to close on February 25th. As it is, logistical complications are real concerns. Waldner pointed out that he needs to figure out a way to get 3 men's races, the combined the downhill and the Super G completed by Friday, because there is only one hotel right by the speed course at the Yongzhon Alpine Center. The male skiers need to vacate their rooms to make way for their female counterparts whose speed events are supposed to begin Saturday. Yep, all kinds of trouble. All because the weather is too cold at the Winter Games. Doesn't that seem... I mean, look, I grew up in Alaska, okay? I grew up in Alaska where we would do stuff outside all winter long. I mean, we really would. We would walk to school when it was 35 degrees below zero. And it was about a mile and a half, 1.5, 2 miles to school. Mom and Dad would make sure we had our parkas on, our snow boots, our hats, our mittens, our scarves and everything, make sure we covered up our face, and away we went. 35 degrees below zero. Now, yeah, we wouldn't necessarily go downhill skiing when it was that cold, but we would do cross-country skiing, downhill skiing, ice hockey, whatever it was we were doing. The weather was almost never a consideration. I mean, typically speaking, ladies and gentlemen, when I was a youngster, I would take the trash out to the trash cans. It was 15 or 20 degrees below zero. I would go out in my T-shirt sleeves and carry the trash out and then come right back in. It really, really is just a number. Now, look, I'm not asking people to risk their lives, but these are the Winter Games. And it's, what a pampered bunch of athletes these really are. I mean, Winter Games are supposed to be played in wintry conditions. It's the whole point. They don't cancel the Iditarod because it's too cold. I mean, to me, ladies and gentlemen, what this tells me is that most Winter Olympic athletes are really not that hardy anymore. They spend too much time training in Colorado Springs, too much time in indoor facilities that are designed to make them into super athletes, but they can't stand it if it gets too cold. I mean, you're competing in 0-degree weather. I'm sorry, but if we had said that's the cutoff here, we're not going to do anything outdoors in Alaska when it's 0 degrees or colder in the wintertime, then we would have never gotten any exercise in the winter. I mean, maybe I'm just complaining a little too much, but I'm sorry. If you didn't bring your extra long handle underwear to the Olympics, then that's too bad. Honestly, I'm glad we've missed these games. Now, meanwhile, there's been more virus outbreaks at the Olympics. 194 cases of norovirus infection. A total of 194 cases have been diagnosed and confirmed as of today, since the outbreak in the Olympic host town last week. The organizing committee said that as of 4 p.m. today, 17 additional people were found to have been infected by the virus, which is known to cause stomach pain and diarrhea. Currently, 47 patients are quarantined, while 147 others have recovered and returned to work. None of the Olympic athletes were infected by the virus, says the committee. The organizing committee earlier said in a statement that a survey of tap water, food staff, and food items is underway to trace the route of transmission. It's just what they need at the Winter Olympics. See, if the weather's not too cold for the virus, All right, what else is happening in the world today, I hear you ask? Well, NBC has fired one of their commentators who made a reference saying that the Korean people are grateful to Japan's role in their economic development, while ignoring the one-time imperial power's brutalization of the Korean peninsula. The Peacock network was left red-faced by weird comments from corporate bigwig Joshua Cooper Ramo, who 30 Rock worked as a commentator for coverage of the opening ceremonies of the Olympics in Pyeongchang on Friday. Japan ruled Korea with an iron fist from 1910 to 1945 in a bloody occupation that still strikes a raw nerve. Every Korean will tell you that Japan is a cultural, technological, and economic example that has been so important to their own transformation, said Ramo, who sits on the board of Starbucks and FedEx while working as co-CEO of former Secretary of State Henry Kissinger's consulting firm. The Korea Times reported Sunday that the network had planned to use Ramo for other Olympic events, but then had no choice but to 86 him. It was possible for him to do more with us here, but now it is no longer possible, an NBC official told Korea Times. Ramo made the thoughtless comment after noting that Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe was in attendance. NBC said it was grateful that Pyeongchang's organizing committee accepted the network's apology. Now, NBC didn't catch the mind-boggling gaffe, despite broadcasting the opening ceremonies on tape in the U.S. 14 hours after it happened. The network had no real explanation for the crazy comment other than to say, sorry. We apologized quickly, both in writing and on television, for a remark made by one of our presenters during Friday night's opening ceremony, according to a 30 Rock statement Sunday. NBC anchor Carolyn Mano had also read a statement on air Saturday trying to limit the damage of his comment. Now, I understand how it could be taken wrong. But boy, I tell you what, there's a lot of water that's passed under the bridge since then. It seems like, something like this 50 years ago never would have come up. Of course, they would never 50 years ago put some yahoo like this on the air to begin with. I remember the good old days when ABC did the Olympics. And the late Jim McKay would anchor the coverage. And then they'd go out to ABC reporters all over the place, including people like Jim Lampley and Al Michaels and all the other seasoned Olympic veterans. Keith Jackson would be there. I mean, it was back then it was a production. It was a real production. Nowadays, what do you get? Amateur hour. That's what you get. All right, folks, hour number 2 of the Monday Rundown is coming up at jjmccartney.com, and Red State Talk Radio will be back. Stay with us. Are these the first volleys in America's next civil war?
He's not a tough guy. He's a bully and he's a bitch.
He's a punk. He's a dog. He's a pig.
And he can suck my
He's a con, a bullshit artist, a mutt.
I'll meet him in a hotel room any day of the week and give him a Louisville Slugger.
I'd like to punch him in the face.
Kiss my mother.
Which side of the aisle is really spewing hateful rhetoric?
Pointing what appears to be a water gun at the image of President Donald Trump projected on a whiteboard, art teacher Pale Modi has now been seen by countless viewers.
Yes, I have thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House.
Weekdays from noon to 3 p.m. Eastern Time, The J.J. McCartney Show, exposing the truth, exposing the lies, exposing the deep state.
It's an actor dressed to look just like President Donald Trump as he's assassinated on stage.
How much longer can America survive this kind of hatred.
Video depicting comedian Kathy Griffin holding the bloody, decapitated head of President Trump are no joking matter for the Secret Service.
The rhetoric that has inspired the violence has come from the mainstream of the Democratic Party.
They're involved in the coup, an active attempt to start a bloody civil war.
I want people to imagine an FBI director that has the stones to investigate the deep state. Imagine a justice system that has the integrity to prosecute corrupt government officials. They have refused to apply the 14th Amendment and give conservatives equal protection under the law. What we've seen here has been the gradual takeover of the government by corporatism, by globalism. They have wrested control of our government away from the citizenry and put it in the hands of a few special interests. And these special interests are as evil as the day is long.
We finally do have a president who has the integrity to do this. We finally do have a DOJ who has the integrity to do this. We know that we have people around the president who not only have the integrity, but have the information and the contacts to get everything done you just said. And you say, well, why aren't they doing it? Everything you're seeing on the news, that's what it's about. That's what this investigation's about. That's what calls of impeachment are about. That's what the globalist attack against Trump is about. That's what the hearings are about. That's what the allegations of Russian spying are about. It's about keeping them off point, keeping them off the agenda, keeping them off task. A lot of what you're watching happening right now, and the misdirection and the complete trying to keep Trump off target goes to that birth certificate. The worst crime in American history was perpetrated against America under the regime of Barack Obama. The media is complicit. Congress is complicit. Federal law enforcement apparently has been complicit. We've got a CIA whistleblower, Dennis Montgomery, whose attorney, Larry Klayman, put it all over the internet the other day that he has said that all of this spying that's been going on American people, that it resulted in manipulation and collusion with judges, Supreme Court justices, congressmen, etc., that James Comey was involved in it, that he was at the top of it. All of this stuff you're seeing about Donald Trump's with the Russians, Donald Trump needs to be impeached, Donald Trump, this is a smokescreen to keep our eyes off of what really happened and what's really going on. And America had better wake up to this, JJ.
Your federal government, your federal law enforcement agencies, our federal intelligence agencies, your federal government in toto has been compromised. The fact that Donald Trump has arrived and said, I'm not going to go along with the status quo anymore, is the cause for alarm for these people on the left. And ultimately, Carl, is it possible that yesterday was simply the first shot fired in an impending civil war between two irreconcilable ideologies?
I don't want our children and grandchildren to see or to participate or to fall victim to such a thing. I don't want our nation to go through such a thing. I don't know that we could survive that. Like Abraham Lincoln's Gettysburg Address, when he said, now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation or any other nation so conceived and so dedicated can long endure. I mean, God's people, we need to pray. We need to not be afraid to speak truth.
Weekdays from noon to 3 p.m. Eastern Time, The J.J. McCartney Show. Exposing the truth, exposing the lies, exposing the deep state.
Live from the Nightside Radio Studios.
This is the J.J. McCartney Show.
Are you better off than you were 4 years ago?
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
Coming to you from Nebraska by way of Alaska. Here's J.J. McCartney.
All right, thank you, Marcus, and welcome back, everybody. Hour number 2 of the J.J. McCartney Show, the Monday Rundown, coming your way. Ladies and gentlemen, the question is, what is missing from today's news headlines? What is it that is not appearing in the headlines today, and why? I mean, you know, you can figure this out. I know you can. And we would love to hear the answer come from you today, 855-853-5227. More to come in just a moment. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back. Something else that happened during the Winter Olympics opening ceremonies coverage on NBC. All right, are you ready for this? First of all, I was not aware until just reading this story here today that Katie Couric is back at the Peacock Network. She was co-anchoring the opening ceremony coverage on NBC, inexplicably. Well, Katie Couric made an idiot of herself yet again. And the people of Amsterdam are shaking their heads and saying, hello, have you ever been to Amsterdam? Apparently she has not. So Katie Couric might want to visit Amsterdam sometime soon. She's drawing criticism on social media after her unusual reasoning for the Netherlands' success in speed skating over the years. Couric, who co-anchored NBC's coverage of Friday's Olympic opening ceremony in Pyeongchang, said that the Dutch rely on skating as a form of transportation in their capital city, which sits at sea level. As you all know, she said, this is Katie Couric speaking, she goes, as you all know, it has lots of canals that can freeze in the winter. So for as long as those canals have existed, the Dutch have skated on them to get from place to place, to race each other, and also to have fun. On social media, the Dutch answers were unanimous, saying, yeah, not so much. Dear at Katie Couric, the Dutch do not skate to work. Skating on clogs is too hard, even for us. Another said, NBC opening ceremony coverage. Katie Couric talks about why the Netherlands is so good at speed skating as the Netherlands enters the stadium. And this, folks, is why Americans are less bright about the rest of the world as they spread fake news. That from Joe Duyestvist, I can't even pronounce his name. I'm going to guess it's probably Duvestein. We also had a funny picture. I'll share this picture. I'm going to download it first, save the image as Couric Idiot. That way everybody, that way I can keep track of it. Idiot. I-D-O, how do you spell idiot? C-O-U-R-I-C, that's right. I'll share this on the video feed here for those of you that are watching today, and we thank you for being with us. Here we go. Media files and downloads. There it is. All right. There's the picture, ladies and gentlemen. If you're watching on the video feed at jjmccartney.com, I think you'll enjoy this. If you're Katie Couric, you probably won't. But it is funny. It really is. It's hilarious that people like Katie Couric, and this, by the way, the caption on this picture says "Rush Hour in Amsterdam," and it shows a group of speed skaters going by an old Dutch windmill. That's funny. That is funny. We'll leave that up for a while. Let everybody enjoy that. But no, seriously, Katie Couric, could you be more clueless? I mean, it's like Ronald Reagan said a long time ago he said, it's not that our friends on the left are stupid. It's just that they know so much which isn't so. Couric's comment was not the only misstep. Of course, we told you about Joshua Cooper Ramos's comments on Koreans admiring Japanese culture and technical and economic example. That blew up in their face. But, with Katie Couric, I mean, this woman has a long history of doing a lousy job. She really does. But then again, it's not like NBC has standards. Am I right? It's not like NBC has high standards to meet. Now, we talked earlier about the reaction of Israel to the violation of their airspace by an Iranian drone. Well, now here's another headline that I think simply shores up what we were saying earlier, that the events in the Middle East right now, these events that we are seeing unfold in the Middle East are prophetic. They really are. Iran unveils new homemade nuclear-capable ballistic missiles amid massive war celebrations. As Tehran cracks down on protesters, the military rolls out nuclear technology. Just a couple hours ago, this came through from freebeacon.com. Iran unveiled a series of new homemade nuclear-capable ballistic missiles during military parades held over the weekend, a move that experts view as a bid to bolster the hardline ruling regime as dissidents continue efforts to stir protest. On the heels of an encounter between Iranian drone and Israeli forces, Iranian leaders showcased their ballistic missile capabilities, which includes a nuclear-capable medium-range missile that appears to share similarities with North Korean technology, according to experts. The nuclear-capable missile can reach Israel even when fired from Iranian territory, raising concerns about an impending conflict between Tehran and the Jewish state that could further inflame the region. Iranian military leaders bragged the ballistic missile can be launched from mobile platforms or silos in different positions and can escape missile defense shields due to their radar evading capability, according to reports in Iran's state-controlled media. The latest technology could further inflame tensions between Israel and Iran, which funds and controls terror organizations operating along Israel's border. Concerns that this nuclear-capable technology could be shared by Iran with its terrorist proxies are fueling long-standing concerns among the Israelis that an attack is imminent. As Iranian dissidents continue to protest over the country's ailing economy, the ruling regime continues to invest millions of dollars it received as part of the landmark nuclear deal with the United States on its military technology, specifically ballistic missiles, which are subject to a ban under international statutes. However, Iran has not only continued this work, but also invested heavily in it since receiving the cash windfalls from the nuclear deal from Barack Obama. Conservative estimates from open sources indicate the Iranian regime has spent at least $16 billion in recent years on its military buildup and rogue operations in Syria as well as other countries. 39 years in, the Islamic Revolution has little to show for its decades in power other than growing the country's asymmetric military capabilities in order to continue their export of the revolution, says Benjamin Ben Taiblu, an Iran expert with the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Speaking with the Washington Free Beacon, he said the Islamic Republic has considerably grown the country's missile and rocket arsenal, both through production and procurement. The two missiles featured over the weekend by Iran include the Ghadr, a medium-range ballistic missile that was modified and upgraded by the Islamic Republic. The Ghadr can strike Israel when fired from Iranian territory, and in March 2016 was flight tested while bearing genocidal slogans against the State of Israel, according to Ben Talablu, who has researched Iranian missile procurement. Iranian military leaders also rolled out a rocket called the Fajr 5, which is becoming a new favorite of Iranian-backed terror proxy groups operating against Israel. The Fajr 5 is an Iranian rocket that has been proliferated to anti-Israeli groups like Hamas and Hezbollah. It can travel up to 75 kilometers and is therefore a long-range artillery rocket. It uses solid fuel for propulsion. Both the Ghadr missile and the Fajr rocket represent Iran's commitment to developing standoff weaponry that it would use for purposes of deterrence and coercion. The new weaponry could fuel ongoing efforts by Congress to crack down on Iran's continued proliferation of ballistic missile technology, a large part of which has been incubated by the North Korean regime, which continues to have a technology sharing agreement with Tehran. Iran already has the region's largest arsenal of ballistic missiles and is seeking to continue building this technology. The Trump administration has said that any effort to fix the nuclear deal with Iran must focus on constricting the regime's access to ballistic missile technology. Well, if this continues, I do believe that Israel will take whatever steps are necessary to neutralize the threat. And if that happens, and I think most experts agree it will, if that happens, then, all hell is going to break loose in the Middle East. Israel has the capacity and the capability to wipe Iran's military off the map if they want to. But as Iran continues defiantly violating statutes that have been around for years, and the terms, by the way, of this so-called deal that Barack Obama and John Kerry and Hillary Clinton so expertly put together, why would you give $155 billion to such a defiant and hate-filled regime? Now, this is just common sense, ladies and gentlemen. It's just common sense. I believe that we are getting closer and closer to the unfolding of history that is spelled out in the books of the Bible, and that we must, first of all, the most important thing we can do is keep our faith and continue to rely on God Almighty for our providence and protection as we set about doing His business. And no, I don't believe that God is calling on us to drop nuclear weapons on Iran or North Korea. I don't believe that's our mission. Our mission has to be a little more high-minded than that. Our mission should be to lead by example and to protect innocent life. That's what America should be focusing on today, tomorrow, and for the rest of however long God gives us on this earth. All right, folks, I'm getting bored talking to the wall. I need you to call in with your opinions, your thoughts on the mess in the Middle East, the mess that was made by Barack Obama and John Kerry and left now for President Donald Trump to try and sort out. And I just, want to get your impression on whatever you're thinking about today as far as the Olympics are concerned or the economy is concerned. Big hint, big hint, big hint. But what's missing from the headlines today? What is it that is missing from the headlines today? Can you guess? What's missing from the headlines today? That is my question for you. 855-853-5227. That's our toll-free telephone number. We'll be back with more in just a minute.
The J.J. McCartney Show.
Hey, everybody. J.J. McCartney back here for our good friends at MountainViewOffGridLiving.com. You know, folks, there's one thing that there never seems to be a shortage of in this world, and that is uncertainty, unrest. You never know what's going to happen tomorrow. Natural disasters, economic downturns, whatever it is, you can be prepared by going to MountainViewOffGridLiving.com. They have got everything you need, from ProPure gravity-fed water filtration systems to Kimberly stoves to these composting toilets. Ladies and gentlemen, at MountainViewOffGridLiving.com, you can prepare for anything. Food storage? No problem. Advice? No problem. Call our good friend Sue at MountainViewOffGridLiving.com. Find out what's there for you. Great prices, great advice, and guess what, folks? You'll find it all at MountainViewOffGridLiving.com.
You said while the law was being debated, if you like your plan, you can keep it. You said after the law was implemented or signed, if you like your plan, you can keep it. Americans believed you, sir, when you said that to them over and over.
Millions of people are trying to accept the loss of their plans you told them could be kept. And one thing that's baffling folks around the planet is how have these plans been canceled, but Two Broke Girls hasn't? I've tried and I've tried, but the effort's in vain. Never has a website inflicted such pain. For our wasted time is a bailout in sight. Can't comment, G. But, can't comment, cuz. Why can't you comment? I don't have Google+. But this is your law, and now people need help. I mean, you wrote that thing. Did you just knockout game yourself? Selling hopes like selling soap, son, I'll tell you why. You can't make either one without a little bit of lie. Selling hopes like selling soap, son, I'll tell you why. You can't make either one without a little bit of lie. Selling hopes like selling soap, son, I'll tell you why. You can't make either one without a little bit of lie. Selling hopes like selling soap, son.
The J.J. McCartney Show will continue in just 1 minute.
That is a pretty good breakfast. You're not even eating.
Not hungry.
Why not? What's up?
Kath and I knew that Jenny'd been partying a bit. Found out she tried heroin.
Most people don't know what to say about drugs, but we do. Visit us at drugfree.org. A message from the Partnership for Drug-Free Kids, where families find answers.
Hey, we're back on the J.J. McCartney Show on this Monday, the 12th day of February. Thanks for being with us. Well, folks, we got breaking news. Breaking news, and this comes via my good friend, Adam Parker. Thank you, Adam. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this from the highly reliable BabylonB.com. If you haven't had a chance to check out the website, BabylonB.com. That's Babylon, BabylonBee.com. Here's the breaking news, ladies and gentlemen. Mainstream media announces a brief moratorium on calling Trump a brutal dictator to praise Kim Jong-un's sister. Yes, Kim Jong-un's sister is stealing the show at the Winter Olympics. U.S. media outlets declared this brief moratorium of 48 hours, where they will stop calling President Donald Trump a brutal dictator so that they can spend more time praising Kim Jong-un's sister, whose name is Kim Yo-jong, for her appearance at the Winter Olympics. Yes, the quote for the next 48 hours. We will cease comparing Trump to history's most violent rulers in order to fawn over one of North Korea's leaders. CNN spokesperson said over the weekend, "You go, girl. Show Pence who's the boss." Yeah, media outlets also declared they would not mention North Korea's barbarous practices like starving its citizens, imprisoning anyone suspected of being a dissident, and killing its political enemies in cold blood in order to make room for their coverage on Kim Yo-jong, who serves as the director of the propaganda and agitation department for her totalitarian brother. At publishing time, the media had told the sister of one of the most brutal dictators in history to slay Queen. Advice sources were later able to confirm she took literally on her return to North Korea. Now, do you think that they would make this stuff up? Ladies and gentlemen, a little bit of levity couldn't hurt at this point. Could it? Now, there's satire and then there's satire. And, the thing is, and yes, we do a lot of satire here, I admit. Satire is one way that we can cope. It's a coping mechanism dealing with the ridiculous lamestream media and the way that they go about doing things. It is highly important that we all remember one thing, and that is that we are not trying to compete with the mainstream media. And if we were, I can tell you that we would be grotesquely underfunded. Well, we're grotesquely underfunded anyway, so it doesn't really matter, I guess. But see, here's the thing. You cannot compare what we do to the mega corporations that own 99% of the broadcast stations, the newspapers, and the cable TV channels. How are we supposed to compete with that, may I ask? And how is it? I mean, just like anything else, at the end of the day, what does it take to do what we do? At the end of the day, what does it take to do what we're doing? Well, if you do the math, ladies and gentlemen, the one thing that we require in order to do a program like this is support from listeners, support from people that, get something out of the show on a daily basis. And just the fact that, you know what, folks, we need this kind of enthusiastic cheerleading to go on. It's important for people, first of all, to understand you are not alone as a conservative Christian patriot. You are not alone. As a matter of fact, you're in very good company, but the thing is, you'd have no way of knowing that were it not for places like Red State Talk Radio. The J.J. McCartney Show is featured on Red State Talk Radio every day. And if you don't go to our website, jjmccartney.com, if you don't go to redstatetalkradio.com, if you don't go to these kinds of places and patronize sponsors, and you know what? There's always a donate button there that you can help support the cause. And I can tell you something, folks. I've been sitting back and counting all the donations I've gotten. And right now, it's not that hard to do. For example, I can say thanks to Terry in Arkansas. What makes Terry different? Well, I can go back and check, but as far as I can see, Terry is the only donation that we have gotten in the last 30 days. Now, I'm not trying to make anybody feel guilty, but if you support the message, if you support the cause, if you agree with us in what we're trying to do, then I'm just going to ask you to consider it. There's a million different places you can go and spend your money, and that, I understand that. But if we're to continue this mission, we absolutely have to see more support. Because right now, we're running at a serious deficit. In a household that can ill afford it, I can tell you that. I know times are tough for everybody right now. Times are tough for everybody right now. But if we cannot come up with some way to financially sustain what we're doing, then we're gonna fall victim to it. And that's exactly what the mainstream media wants. It's exactly what the big corporate media wants. They want to squish shows like this one. They want to absolutely silence us. And how do they do it? Well, by whoring themselves out. By drawing advertisers to them that we simply, we cannot offer the same return on investment as a multi-billion-dollar corporation does. The only thing we can offer is unique content and commentary, and to continue to spread truth to try and offset the lies. How do we do it? Word of mouth. I mean, you can be an active part of helping this show simply by sharing the links on your social media. You can do it by telling people this is a show you can't afford to miss. And then if you happen to have a few extra pennies in your pocket, ladies and gentlemen, we take all donations and we appreciate them. We do. But I'll tell you something, folks. The well has been dry for months. The well has been dry for months. It's never been our goal on this program to make $1 million. At one time, it would have been nice if we could just break even. But we're so far beyond that now. This is a personal sacrifice that we're making every single day just to be here. You can help us grow. You can help us reach more and more people, and you can help us to make ourselves marketable enough that a few courageous sponsors will step in and advertise with us. Now, folks, I know this is like talking about how the sausage gets made, but we all have a part in this. We really do. We all have a part in this, and it's not about furthering our finances. It's about helping us stop the bleeding, ladies and gentlemen. Now, 10 days ago, if you recall, I took a really nasty fall here at the house. A very nasty fall. I injured my knee, my ankle, and my foot. And this happened a few hours before showtime 10 days ago. And since then, through unbearable pain and through the help of my wife and my daughter and my dogs, I'm hobbled, but I'm still here. But when situations like that come up, and believe me, folks, we're not talking minor injury. This was a doozy. I had to stop and think of what to do. Because, honestly, we can't afford just the co-pays on MRIs and X-rays or CAT scans or whatever they do. These things are expensive. No matter who you are, your copays have gone up, your premiums have gone up, your deductibles have gone up. All of ours have. It is unmanageable right now. But I can tell you this. As long as I can sit in this chair and share from the heart with all of you, I'm going to be here. And I'm going to continue to fight for the truth. I'm going to continue to fight for what we know is right. Because as I said in hour number 1, where do you want to see America in 10 years? Where do you want to see America in 10 years? I mean, you look around at the media coverage, the hate, the absolute hatred, not only of Donald Trump, but of those of us that had the sense to vote for him. There is so much hatred out there right now in the mainstream media that there is. How do you fight it? How do you fight that kind of hatred? What is the only thing that can defeat that kind of hatred? Well, first of all, truth. Second of all, love. You know, we have to be able to love one another and love our enemies. And you know what? The best way to love our enemies is, first of all, for us to live upright lives. And second of all, to be consistent in delivering a testimony about who lives in our heart. A testimony about how can you live the most fruitful life possible. This is all about what's going on in your soul. The souls of the men and women of America. If you are committed to the cause, not only of America, but the cause of Christ, if you're committed to those two things, then please ask yourself this question: where do you see America in 10 years if we don't change things up soon? Where do you see America in 10 years if we don't do everything we can to fight for the future of this country, to fight for the souls of our children, and to teach them that there is a definite right and a definite wrong, that there are absolutes in this world and they don't change just because of what they say on some ridiculous television program. We do not change our values simply because the culture says, well, the times are changing. No, they aren't. The times are not changing. It isn't the times that have changed, it's us. And it hasn't been for the better. And I'm not picking on you folks that are, followers of this program, followers of conservatism. I am talking about us, the United States. Times haven't changed, we have. And if we're going to get America back to where it needs to be, then we have to have the same fighting spirit that Donald Trump has shown. We may want to control our outbursts a little bit better than he does. But if we're going to have a future in America, and if that America is going to have room in it for the cause of Christ and for the cause of America's founding, see, we have to teach our children what the truth is. They're not going to absorb it unless they absorb it from us. Otherwise, they're just going to be completely immersed in a godless culture. Is that what you want for your kids? Is that where you want to see your grandkids in 20 years? Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to fight. It's time to stand up and say, no, I'm not okay with this. It's time to stand up against evil. It's time to stand up for the cause of America and the cause of Christ. Everybody has a stake in this. Where do you want to see America in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years? Or are you thinking that, well, the cause is lost and there's really no sense in us getting dirty? We'll just, we'll keep doing what we do and the rest of the world can just go to hell. Well, that sounds a little bit like Neville Chamberlain. Ladies and gentlemen, now is the time. If you're waiting on somebody to your left or your right to start, it might be a long wait, but, maybe, just maybe, if you start, they'll see you and they'll say, you know what? I know what you mean. I'm with you. But the time to fight for this country's future is right now. The time to stand up against this political correct bullcrap is right now. The time to defend virtue. The time to defend the truth. And the time to fight against the revisionists who want to write American history as some tale of oppression, which it certainly is not. If you care about where we're going to be in another 10 or 15 years, then please don't sit on your hands. Please don't wait for somebody else to start. Find your passion for this country. Please, while there is still time, find your passion for this country. Because if we don't do it now, ladies and gentlemen, there may not be another chance. There may not be another chance. And I cannot tell you, I simply cannot tell you what it means when we hear from you. When we hear from you, it tells us that this thing is alive and it's growing. When we hear from you, it tells us that there are other people that really do share our passion for this nation that we live in today, for the children, and what are they going to inherit from us? Aside from the $20+ trillion in debt, what are we going to do to make sure that we do not go down the treacherous path that leads to our utter destruction? Now, if you cannot get passionate about defending truth and defending virtue in this day and time, if that doesn't stir something within you, then I don't know what it will take. I want all of us to be able to stand together one day and say, we did it. We did it. We did not let our knees bend. We did not allow the enemy to take this parcel. We did not allow the enemy to gain ground on us. Now, there's plenty of stuff to be excited about. There is plenty of, really seriously, you look at what's happened in just 1 year with Donald Trump as our president. I mean, we know the formula works. And we know that the enemy absolutely hates that it's working. They'll do and say anything to undermine this president and this country. So where do you want to see America in 10 years? What are you willing to do to make that happen? Where do you want to see America in 10 years? 855-853-5227. That's our toll-free telephone number. We'll be back with more of the J.J. McCartney Show in just a minute.
If you agree with J.J.'s conservative pillars for rescuing America's economy, stay tuned for more. If you are a liberal and think everything is okay, you can go pet your unicorn now.
But we refuse to throw in the towel and do nothing. We refuse to let Detroit go bankrupt. I bet on American workers and American ingenuity. 3 years later, that bet is paying off in a big way.
gave me a call this afternoon to tell me that the decision had been made to file for Chapter 9.
So the next time you see one of those brand new 2013 models on TV or on the lot, think about how far we've come together.
I don't think any of us expected him to say that.
When it's time to get away, you can always find solace in the welcome arms of your friend Detroit, where the last thing anybody finds is a job, and the furthest thing from anyone's mind is responsibility, where its citizens greet you with a warm hello and toothless meth grins, where the unemployment is so high that its proud citizens can enjoy enough time to slow down as they contribute the country's worst murder rate, a place where 7 out of 10 of those murders go completely unsolved, and if the gangs don't get you, the roaming packs of wild dogs will. It's a city that's eating itself alive and been entirely run by Democrats and unions since 1961, a crystal ball for the future of the country, in a city that's as likely to change as its students are to graduate high school. You can always count on it to be waiting for you with one hand out and the other ready to shoot you in the spleen. A place that's pure Detroit.
Psst, it's me, your bathroom medicine cabinet. I see you naked, know how often you floss, and watch you pluck unsightly hairs. I can keep a secret, but you need to know. Your kids have been taking your prescriptions to get high. I couldn't keep it quiet, because prescription drug abuse now causes more deaths than cocaine and heroin ODs combined. So please, mind your meds. For tips on safeguarding your meds and your family, visit the Partnership for Drug-Free Kids at drugfree.org.
The J.J. McCartney Show.
A message from DAV to returning veterans. Thank you for doing your duty and doing our bidding. Thank you for stepping up and not backing down. Thank you for putting yourself in harm's way and putting your buddies' lives ahead of your own. Thank you for defending our freedom and displaying your honor. DAV thanks all veterans by fighting to get them the benefits and support they were promised. Visit DAV.org for free help. And again, thank you.
All right, we are back on the Monday edition, the Monday Rundown at jjmccartney.com. Thanks for joining us on this windy day here at the Nightside Radio Studios, where seriously, wind gusts are going nuts here today. Matter of fact, do we have a wind advisory? I don't think we have a wind advisory per se, but the wind right now is steadily blowing east 21 miles an hour, and the temperature is 22 degrees. That makes our wind chill value right now 7 degrees. Oh, what fun, what fun. But there's the promise of warmer days. Matter of fact, on Wednesday, we're going to have sunny skies, and our high is going to be 54 degrees. That's amazing. Isn't that amazing? And then again, we're supposed to hit 50 on Saturday and Sunday. You know what that means? That means that the crunchy snow and ice is going to give way to mud and ruts in the driveways. And it's going to be loads of fun, let me tell you. But hey, we're making progress. Every day we're gaining a little more sunlight. This is my favorite time of year, because every day it gets a little brighter. Every day it gets a little more springy. Every day that goes by, the promise of spring is in the air. And we're gonna grab the gusto. That is exactly what we're gonna do. We're gonna grab the gusto with every day that leads to the spring. And, I've still got work I have to do here in the studio. Now, I told you that we would be done by March, sometime in March. And unfortunately, many of my plans had to take a back seat to especially the medical necessities of dealing with my leg. And my hope is that in the next 7 to 10 days, we can at least get some of the gear that we're going to put in the studio up the stairs. Because I have been prepping for this for a few months now. And just being able to get stuff up the stairs, I'm going to have to hire somebody or find a volunteer that's willing to help us carry the heavier pieces up the stairs so that nobody gets hurt. And I'm talking big stuff. And, it has been this way for the last 5 years. My eyes can see the work that needs doing, but my body is not able to make it all come to fruition at this moment. But my hope is that sometime in the next 3 or 4 weeks, we can be to a point where everything is all ready so that we can get the big stuff put where it needs to be. And it really is going to make a huge difference. I mean, everything is working technically right now as well as I could hope. Oh, by the way, lost the call from Idaho. Had a caller from Idaho on the line, and they went away. I'm sorry, it's probably my fault. I probably talked too long, but hopefully they'll call back. But seriously, the plans that we've made, the things that we're trying to do, are all going towards what I believe is going to be growth and, a better, much more well-rounded program. I mean, the equipment we have right now in the studio is just enough for us to do this daily show, and not much more than that. But once we get the other stuff put where we want it and get it installed, then, my friends, then it gets fun. It really does. We are going to round a corner once we get this studio complete. And I cannot wait to share it with you. I really can. I cannot wait to share it with you and to show you what can be done. Even in even in my dilapidated physical state, I think you'll be amazed at what we can do and what we're going to do. Because I believe in this dream. I believe in the vision that God gave us for this. I believe in the cause. Some people say, well, which cause is that, JJ? Well, you should know. I mean, I am an American. I am a patriot. There's literally thousands of shows that prove that I'm a patriot. But first and foremost, what I am is a Christian. I'm one of God's children. I'm not perfect. I've got a lot of flaws just like anybody else, but I love the Lord. And it is that love for the Lord that sustains me on a daily basis. Even on days when I'm having a bad day, He gives me just enough to make it to the finish line for that day. You learn to trust when you live like that. You do. You learn to trust and to understand that, if this was easy, would it be worth it? But because this takes a piece of me every day to do this, then I really look at it and say, is it worth it? And I say, it has to be. It is. It is, because there's no way it couldn't be worth it. If God is telling me to do it, and He's giving me the words to say, and He's giving me the voice to be able to say it, then yes, it's worth it. It's worth it, because to not do this I'd be like Jonah, trying to run away from the list of things that God wants me to do. And I may not end up in the belly of a whale, but I just can't imagine running away from this. Not when God planted the seed in my heart to do it. I believe in this country. I believe in the founding of this country, and I believe in the godliness of the founders. I really do. I believe the founders were seeking after God's will in their lives and in this nation, understanding that there's not a nation that's ever been on earth that prospered and flourished like the United States did. And what is the main reason that happened? The main reason that happened is because our founders consulted God when they founded this country, and they considered him when they were putting together the foundation. And if the foundation is godly, then that means we can rebuild this thing. And we have to. That has to be the priority. We can and must rebuild America as a just and a godly nation. Failure to do that, it's unthinkable. We simply must turn back to God. And nobody out there knows how many days we have left in our lives. But the best advice I can give any of you is to live those days for God. Live those days for God and never forget who delivered you, who gave you this life in this blessed land. You know, we could have been one of those people that was born into poverty. We could have been one of those people that was born into starvation, pestilence, disease of all types. But no, God delivered us when he put us here in the United States. And you know, it is written, to whom much is given, much was expected and required. We have been given much. What will we do with that which God gave us? Will we let it fester and rot? Or will we be the ones that deliver this nation to a new day of godliness, a new day of moral uprightness, a new day of American exceptionalism? And when anybody around the world asks, well, what is it that makes America different? Ultimately, it's going to be the people seeking the face of God, seeking the will of God, and turning away from wickedness. Yeah, I know, ladies and gentlemen, wickedness is everywhere in this world. But greater is he who is in me than he who is in the world. Carry that in your heart every day. Believe it. Stand strong with us. I pray you will. Visit the website, jjmccartney.com, or visit the website, redstatetalkradio.com. But please get behind these patriots that are trying to do the work so that we have a future for our kids. All right, gang, that's going to do it. Be good to yourselves, and if you possibly can, be good to someone else. And remember, we'll win in the end because there are more of us than there are of them, because God is with us, and because we are all in this thing together. Have a great rest of your Monday. See you on Tuesday. Until then, God bless. Bye-bye.